The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Don't you want to sound rich?
Welcome to the 75th episode of Social Suplex's podcast about AEW with a proclivity for positivity. Welcome to All Things Elite. My name is Austin Somewhat. I'm the host of this lovely show. Joining with me, as always, is Floyd Johnson Jr., my good partner in crime. And then joining us once again, we have the ace of podcasts from Keepin It Strong Style, the young boy, Josh Smith. Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for the very lively introduction. I wasn't expecting that.
Oh yeah, no, we got. It's your second time on, so now we got to make sure we can't lose you again. So we got you the first time because you were like doing us a favor, and now we got to make sure we can consistently get you back on.
So you're saying that I now need to be a part of this show, and Jeremy needs to look for another co-host? Is that my understanding?
No. I'm just saying we enjoyed having you on so much that we want to have you on more.
Well, Josh is, I always call Jeremy the godfather of Social Suplex. Josh is actually the godfather of All Things Elite because he is the idea of the show came from him. So this being our 75th episode, a monumental episode, I thought it was only right to have the young boy on to talk about All Things Elite.
Nice. The young boy who's a godfather.
Exactly.
You can be both.
Hey man, I didn't pick your nickname. You maybe should update your nickname. It's like when you go see Boys to Men. It's like you should just be men now. It's like there's nothing boyish about you. You got like 3 hairs on your head between all of you, and they're gray, so you shouldn't be boys. So whatever. But change your name. Change your name. I'll call you whatever you tell me to call you. If you wanted me to call you the amazing Joshua Smith, I would do that. You just tell me what to call you, sir.
Well, we'll figure that out down the line.
Yeah. But once again, we want to thank you guys so much for tuning in right now, and we're going to be talking AEW Dynamite for this week. First AEW Dynamite of September of 2020. And then, of course, this weekend, we have All Out that will be taking place on Saturday, September 5th. We will be giving the preview and I assume predictions as well for the pay-per-view. But before we get into the episode altogether, I want to make sure you are downloading this fine show on Google or Apple Podcasts. Please leave a rating and a review. If you're so inclined to, you can also leave a donation through our podcast provider, Red Circle. Please support us by following us on social media. At AT Elite Pod is our podcast Twitter. So follow our boy Social Suplex at Social Suplex. Follow myself at SZoomer4. Follow Floyd at Floyd Johnson Jr. And you can follow Josh's podcast, Keepin It Strong Style, at KI Strong Style on Twitter. Now, the big news, obviously, for this week is this Saturday being the All Out pay-per-view, which will also have fans in attendance. They are continuing to do the 15% capacity for the Daily's Place. I'm pretty sure until either they can't do it anymore and like the FCC like kind of cuts them off on it, or until they can actually start touring again with fans in full attendance. So Saturday with All Out coming up, we got a lot of matches that we can look forward to, and I feel like we'll just get into those matches more so as we get towards that preview for the pay-per-view itself.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. Looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to hearing all of Josh's thoughts because Yes, we sometimes differ, and it's awesome.
I honestly, it's kind of weird. Like, I'm excited to be here. I feel like this past week's show was, I heard a lot of negative takes about it from other sources and pundits, but I personally really just enjoyed it. I thought it was a good show. Maybe I'm not being as critical as I normally am, and I'm excited for All Out. So, I mean, yeah, I'm excited to discuss everything that we got on the docket.
Yeah, Josh coming with the proclivity for positivity. I dig
it. We'll see how long that lasts. But now let's get into AEW Dynamite for this week on September 2nd. We're recording this a day after the show aired, so just to give you an idea of when we're talking about this. This was also, and I was so happy to see and hear him on the show, this was the return of Excalibur to the commentary team for tonight's episode of Dynamite. And you can notice the difference instantaneously when he's on. All the calls, even leading into the preview for the opening match between Best Friends and Santana and Ortiz, they showed the video package beforehand showcasing all of Santana and Ortiz's things they've been doing to torment Best Friends, and including destroying Trent's mom's van and all that stuff. You can instantly tell Excalibur is just like, he's back in his element, and the team just seems to flow way, way better with him on the commentary team, and I'm just very glad to see him back.
I immediately, I told you I don't pay attention to announcing, commentating a lot. I immediately noticed the difference. I actually put it in our thread that it was like one match in, it was like, oh, this is better. He is so much better at giving color and depth to the story than pretty much anybody they have right now. So he's kind of in his element. I missed him so much.
Yeah, definitely a welcome addition as far as what Excalibur brings to the table. There's definitely a different vibe and energy. I'm kind of like you, Floyd. I don't really necessarily usually pay attention to commentating unless someone's either really bad or really good. And I generally think that the commentating in AEW is pretty good, but it's definitely better with Excalibur. One thing, though, and Austin said we'd wait and see how long it'd take me to get into the negativity. One thing I will say, and I won't point anybody in any kind of direction, but I gotta wonder what happened on the in-between time from the time that he was not on the air to suddenly bringing him back. Obviously, we know it has a lot to do with the sort of controversial, racial remarks that kind of surfaced from back in the day. The one thing I will say about this, me being an old head and kind of like having more exposure to old PWG than maybe your average viewing fan, there's a lot more skeletons in Excalibur's closet that have never really been dug up. It's honestly very hard to find, but people that are kind of in the know, they know this. I got to wonder as a company if they're like prepared for that or not, because this wasn't a one-time thing. Like, there are a lot of things that are out there from his on-air persona with the company from back in the day.
It's so weird that wrestling is held to this higher standard. If someone was on the SVU playing a rapist, they're not gonna he goes to 24 and he's trying to play a cop, they're gonna be like, you know what? We can't have you on the show because you used to play a rapist character. I don't get it. Excalibur played some shitty characters, and he said some shitty things in character. Let's move on. That's how I feel.
Well, the one thing I will say, I don't really have a dog in the race one way or the other. I've never really dug my feet in the sand in on this topic, but I don't want to spend too much time here. I think the one thing where people kind of defer from that is that it isn't strictly acting if the things you're doing are, like, say, ad-libbing and no one's telling you or forcing you to do them. It's more closer to, like, I don't know, method acting or maybe even like stand-up as opposed to like acting like from a script. You know what I mean? Yeah. And keep in mind, Excalibur was the booker, the writer, the owner, one of the many owners of the company. So, I mean, Yeah, I mean, but yeah, the one thing I am going to say, and this isn't even really to bury him. The one thing I'm saying is for the company, there's a lot of stuff out there. A lot. It's not just this one.
I just sincerely hope that they just, like I said, I just wish people would treat them more like the performers. If you're ad-libbing and you think your character would say this, okay, your character said that. It's over at the end of the performance. That's how I feel. But that's me digging in.
It's different from them actually meaning the words behind their actions.
Yeah, and I don't. And like I said, this comes from me, as some of you may know, an African American person. I ain't got no problem with it. Me and him. As far as in character, didn't have a problem with Leonardo DiCaprio saying it in Django Unchained. I didn't have a problem with Quentin Tarantino writing it for Django Unchained, and all the many movies where he uses the N-word. So I definitely don't have a problem with Excalibur doing it.
The one thing is, clearly you don't, and I'm not even saying I do, but there's a large audience and fan base and advertisers and things of that nature that do. So the one thing I'm just wondering is, long term, has the company addressed this? Are they hoping that this just kind of forgotten, they're moving on, or are they prepared in the event that hypothetically some online troll goes and drudges up everything that he's done in the past? Because I'm telling you guys, when I say there's a lot, I mean literally there is a whole freaking lot from the early days of PWG. A lot. And I'm not just saying that. But no one has you have to go out, buy the DVDs or have, access to it from one of the torrent sites or something like that, kind of like someone like me, to kind of know what I'm talking about. But I'm just wondering if they're ready for this to happen again down the road, because inevitably at some point it is going to happen again. And so that's the one thing I'm wondering about. But yeah, we can definitely move on.
Yes.
Okay. I'll leave it at that and just say I think if they weren't prepared for it, they wouldn't have hired him. I was
going to say, because I just hope Tony, as a leader, as a boss, takes a stand one way or another. Just say, hey, we know this has happened. We're going to keep moving on. Or say, hey, now we know this is happening. We're going to let them go. I don't care which one. I'm just kind of tired of, what I mean?
And see, they did, and they haven't really done either of that. I think that they tried to hopefully just sort of avoid the entire thing, which is kind of what they did. And they're like, oh, see, the show was not as good without him. So let's hold off. People will miss him. Bring him back. Triumphant. They never addressed it. Yeah. So for better or for worse, I do think at some point they might end up having to address it. And I'm just saying.
You are correct. You are correct.
At some point, this is going to come back up.
Yeah. I mean, especially if AEW, they're good right now, but if they blow up, if they're doing 2 million a week or something like that, and they become a lot more mainstream, and with more popularity becomes better trolls, there you go. Somebody might find that information. So I do hope, I hope they address it.
Well, sort of like this. If you've got one couple second clip and that's it, then it can kind of easily be forgotten. But if someone goes out there and compiles a montage video and it's several minutes long, that would be a little harder to kind of ignore. So yeah.
All the times Excalibur dropped the N-word, the mixtape.
It's not even just that. It's
a lot of. Yep.
I won't go into the details, but it's not just that. It's stuff.
I've always said, if me at 39 years old, the stuff I said from about 2000 to 2005 would get me canceled and fired today. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because it was just stuff that we didn't even think about the repercussions of who it was hurting or anything. It was just common language. I'm not going to use any of that language today, but if you're asking early 20s Floyd, I'm like, oh yeah, that's no big deal. And it's now I know that it hurts people and I would never use it now, but it's 20 years ago. I can't rewind 20 years ago and not say it.
Yeah, and absolutely, and that's a valid point. It's something that's definitely worth having when you have that deeper conversation. I'm not even here to have that. The only thing I'm here to basically say is the company needs to come up with a strategy or come up with some sort of contingency plan, because when I say this one little thing that kept him off TV for 4 weeks was just the tip of the iceberg.
PC Claus is coming to town. That's what. right.
Yeah, but either way, off of that little conversation, we opened up again with Santana and Ortiz versus Best Friends. Overall, with an opening matchup like this, and with the good story that they had been building over the few weeks that they've had this feud going on, which has been very entertaining. They've also they showed it on Dynamite too, that they continued their feud through Dark, where they fought like outside the Daily's place and were throwing each other into like trucks and TV trucks and all that kind of stuff. So this is more continuation. I don't believe it's going to be the end of this feud because overall, Santana and Ortiz with some shenanigans, grabbing Trent grabbing Chuck on the outside of the apron. No, my bad. Because there's a point where Santana nails Trent as Ortiz held him by the ankle while he was on the apron, and then pretty much through a bunch of shenanigans, Santana and Ortiz were able to get the victory on the match and finish it with a street sweeper.
Yeah, the 100% clean victory for Santana and Ortiz.
You're going to continue this, aren't you?
I'm just saying, referee counted 3 in the middle of the ring, clean victory.
Never saw the steel baton.
I'm just what steel baton? I don't know. I like my boy Kevin Kelly. I think my screen glitched for a second there, and I missed something. I don't know. All I saw was street sweeper 1, 2, 3.
All right. Well, yeah. So as Floyd said, clean as a whistle. If you want to think that way. Santana and Ortiz get the victory over Best Friends after they pin Trent. And again, I don't think this will be the end of the feud. I think they're going to try to keep this up a little bit longer. But overall, decent opener. I was more so surprised that they actually didn't lead off with the next match that we'll be talking about. But it was a decent opener, not as good as their other ones, but I felt like it was relatively decent.
I actually liked this match the best out of the ones that they've had. The other matches that they've had might have been more technically, sound as far as in-ring work, but this one actually had stakes behind it just because it was built off of the animosity from the previous matches, so it had more heat. I even liked that the Best Friends jumped Proud and Powerful before they came out, because that's a tactic we've seen LAX use multiple times in other feuds and matches, especially with the Young Bucks. And I don't think we've seen too many other teams employ that sort of strategy against them. It just kind of shows what the Best Friends, they're kind of had it up to here basically, with them attacking Trent's mom's van, and then the bleach and everything that happened on Dark. They definitely were taking some really, really crazy bumps. Especially the one that Chuck Taylor took on all those chairs on the outside. That one was extremely vicious. I don't even know if the juice is worth the squeeze. That's the one thing is it was kind of good for the story because it left Trent isolated. But I think you could have gotten away with telling that story without the guy literally risking paralysis. Maybe do that on a pay-per-view. I don't know. But there was the one spot we forgot to mention where Trent hit one. I don't know. I think it was Santana or maybe it was Ortiz. Hit them with the Dude Buster and got the 1, 2, 3. The referee counted the 1, 2, 3.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And they were trying to set up the spot where the other Proud and Powerful member put the hand on the rope, but they didn't actually do it in time. And so everyone kind of messed up. They didn't get the hand up in time. The ref counted the 3. Trent won that match.
I don't know what you saw. I saw his hand was successfully
Christ.
on the ropes, and the count broke up. The referee did count 3 on accident, incorrectly, and the match had to continue.
But how is it incorrect if his shoulders were on the mat, Floyd?
I mean, his hand was on the rope. I don't know what you're talking about, because as a person that is training to be a wrestler, you don't actually have to be on the rope. All your hand has to do is be under the rope. It doesn't have to physically be on it to stop the count. There you go.
That man's hand was on his chest.
I mean, hey. Just like an NBA player, we saw it 2 different ways. What did the ref say? You know what I mean? Nothing.
Last thing I'll say about the match, I thought it was pretty good. I liked the finish. The only thing is, I was actually a little surprised before I knew the pay-per-view card. This was something I could have possibly imagined even maybe seeing on the card, maybe on the undercard. I don't know, but it looks like it's staying a Dynamite only feud, really.
Yeah. I would have liked it to be. I would have liked to have a second buyout match because right now we only have one. I would have liked it to maybe be a second buyout match or buy-in. I said buyout.
Buy-in. Yep.
Buyout. Buy-in.
Yeah. But either way, I was more so very much involved and intrigued by the next matchup, which was the 8-man tag between Young Bucks and Jurassic Express versus Private Party and SCU. And honestly, I actually just realized I'm looking at the AEW notes on their website. There's a typo. It says Private Party and Private Party. So apparently Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian has joined Private Party. So 0 out of 10 worst company in the world. Jesus Christ, get your shit together. Anyways, yes. The winner of this matchup, the team that wins, would end up facing each other at All Out. So we would either get Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express or Private Party versus SCU. I liked how Young Bucks, after they completely dropped Hangman last week, don't even bother to do their pose as they come out and walk down the ring and go get into the ring as the money cannons shoot off. And I like how they've kind of just pretty much now they're just fully just in their own way, like in their own mind now, and just kind of just like fuming at the whole Hangman situation. There was even a point where there was a Hangman hold my drink my beer sign. Matt Jackson grabbed the sign and ripped it up. So there's a lot of interesting moments in this matchup that I like story wise. Overall, 8-man tag matches aren't normally my thing, but this one was still solid. I feel like just having the Young Bucks and Jurassic Express and like all these great teams in it really made it work really well. There was a lot of great spots in it, good amount to the point where I forgot a few of them. But either way, Young Bucks and Jurassic Express ended up getting the victory, and they will be facing each other at All Out on this Saturday. And it's like the way that Young Bucks are acting, though, just I'm very intrigued to see how this continues. And just a lot of things that are happening with the Elite, too, because someone noticed on social media how Kenny Omega's name on the website, his nickname was changed from the Best Bout Machine to the Cleaner. And people very much know what that version of Kenny Omega is. So there's a lot of interesting things going on with the Elite, which is probably why I like the stuff that they're doing together and just like all the different pieces that are going on, like Cody completely shut down by Brody Lee. Then you got Hangman like all by himself now, fully kicked out of the Elite. And Young Bucks are just completely pissed off at Hangman, and they're just now completely in their own mind and in their own head. And then you got Kenny, who's slowly starting to lose it as well. And there's a lot of things that can come out of what's happening with the Elite that I am all for. But overall, with this specific matchup, this 8-man tag, your guys' thoughts on this match?
I got to tell you, Austin, you did a fantastic rundown. You hit on a lot of key points. I agreed with 99% of them, but you said one thing twice that is inaccurate. You said that Hangman got kicked out of the Elite. Hangman hasn't been in the Elite for like 5 or 6 months.
Okay, you know what? Oh, you know what? You got me there. You got me there. I just went with what the Young Bucks said and the statement that they made from last week. I'm not saying what they said was fully factual. I'm just don't shoot the messenger here, guys.
Yeah, he quit the Elite. Yeah, I'm like, how more clear do you have to be to look a man in the eye and say, I don't like you? That's what Hangman did. The real cowboy, some cowboy shit. He looked the Young Bucks in the eye and told them, I don't like you anymore. I don't want to be in this group.
Bro, like literally, I remember watching and I don't even follow like Being the Elite that seriously, but like I remember one episode at the end of it, like where he told them, he's like, I love you guys, but I don't like you, and I don't think we should be together anymore. And like at that point, he had already, and I was like, why are they even doing this? Because he left them months ago, and they like said it on TV many times. Am I misremembering something? Like
Young Bucks are sitting by the window with tears in their eyes, waiting for Hangman to come home or something. I don't know what's going on here.
I feel like there was just a point. There was just a point where they had a boombox over their head and they were outside of Hangman's house, just being like, "Hangman!"
Did you ever? You guys ever seen Wayne's World?
Oh, of course.
Yes.
When Wayne has that ex-girlfriend and she's like, Wayne, if you're not careful, you're gonna lose me. He's like, I lost you 6 months ago when we broke up.
Dude, that's like the best analogy of that whole thing. That's the best.
Oh man, but as far as this match, one thing that this company is getting really, really good at, and I think it's because the Bucks came from Dragon Gate and also, their multi-man matches in PWG, but ultimately, I think the biggest influence is the booking style of, say, New Japan. And they don't borrow from it too prevalently, but they feature it once or twice almost every Dynamite where they'll have a 6 or 8 or even a 10-man or even a 12-man tag. And it's a nice way to get multiple people on the show, multiple people performing, many people protected, but it boosts, ratings and stats and that sort of thing. And they've been doing a really good job of that and just kind of keeping those as like filler matches, but they still integrate stories through them. So they're not just, nothing on the card. You still have to pay attention. And they did a great job of it here because the two teams that are teaming together, whichever ones win, they're going to be facing each other. So there's stakes involved, which always kind of raises, the importance of the match. And that's exactly what you had here. And like you touched on, Austin, I liked the story of the Bucks kind of just being more serious, more focused. They're all business. They're the business Bucks. They're not the young Bucks anymore. They're all business. They're there to, basically wreck everybody and leave, just like Roman Reigns. That's what they're looking to do. Ooh, and that's what they did. And this match was, to be honest with you, I couldn't tell you too much from it. I was entertained by it. I thought it was good. But, the great thing is the Bucks won with their new finisher. I don't even know what that new finish.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what it's called.
The BTE trigger.
That's right, the BTE trigger, which is almost like a kind of like a play off of the golden trigger, but it's two different angles. It's pretty devastating looking, and I actually liked that. But those guys got like 5 finishers now.
Yeah, I forgot whoever does the flip off the top, it hurts his back, so they came up with a safer.
Oh, yeah, Matt.
Yeah, they came up with a safer finisher.
So they're not going to. So they've got more bang for your buck. Cease and desist. The Grace Meltzer ever, the Indie Taker, and now the BTE trigger. That's 5.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Spot monkeys, obviously.
Yeah, as I say, that's a lot of finishers for a tag team. When you're really good, you only need one, like FTR, whatever.
There you go.
One last thing before we get your thoughts, Floyd. One thing I'm noticing is like Cody was starting to show some heelish tendencies. Now he's gone. But then, like, so is Hangman, and so is Kenny, and then kind of so are the Bucks. Like, are they all in a race to figure out which one gets to go heel first? Is that what's like happening here?
I think that's why Tony and all of them are driving the narrative that there's no such things as heels and faces because they all want to be heels. And he's like if
they have to appease all the executive VPs who are like all trying to do the same thing at the same time. They're like, all right, well, we got shades of gray, pal.
Yeah. Nothing Cody does is actually heelish. Everyone deserves it. So. No, but I really.
What about the time when he spit that drink on that fan in the crowd at ROH?
That fan deserved it. I mean, come on. No, Cody only gives people what they deserve, and so if anybody gets in his way, yeah, they deserve it. But this match was great. I loved Luchasaurus's hot tag and his moves. It reminded me of that first time we saw him at Double or Nothing, where he came out and did his hot tag, and he was completely like over, and it just seems like we might be getting some of that magic back. I think, I thought he was one of those people that they were going to push really hard, But, he's with Jurassic Express, and they are featured, but it's just like him as an individual. I think they should be building him up to a title shot eventually. And so I think this match seemed to get him back on the right foot. And, I thought it was a really good match. I thought everybody performed well. And, of course, you can't have All Out, which is basically the kid of All In, without the Young Bucks on the card. That's just silly.
Yeah, but after this, there was a backstage segment where Jake Hager went over to Orange Cassidy and told him that Jericho wants him ringside for his match tonight, and said it'd be smart for you to be there, which was a small little tidbit of what was going to happen later tonight. We then had an in-the-ring interview with one half of the AEW Tag Team Champions, Kenny Omega, and the other half, Hangman Adam Page, was not there. And Tony Schiavone was asking him about what's going through his mind after what happened to Adam Page. And he talked about how the cockroaches in FTR gotten Adam Page's head. It happened, but it will not happen at All Out. They will defeat FTR just like every other tag team before them. FTR did not take too long to come out with Tully Blanchard. Holding a beer cooler, they actually offered Kenny a bottle of chocolate milk. Nice touch. And then just talks about, if you came out here to bamboozle me 2-1, just get it over with, because the one thing you need to do, though, is just to keep the old man away. I can smell his depends from here, as Kenny Omega takes a shot at Tully Blanchard. And then Adam Page comes out. Dax then says, Adam explained to Kenny that we didn't do anything to you, and how big of a piece of shit you really are. And then Kenny, once again, cuts him off, screaming at Adam. They're trying to get inside your head again. FTR then grabs the tag belts. Adam Page demands to get them back. And then FTR tosses them right across the canvas. Adam grabs the belts. And then as he turns around to return them to Kenny Omega, he's already gone, and he's standing alone on the floor. And then just considerably, once again, we have more turmoil between the AEW Tag Team Champions, and it's going to be interesting to see exactly what will happen at All Out, because as far as it's looking right now, it seems like we're getting new Tag Team Champions on the horizon. But this had some great, just character moments for a segment, and just the way of Adam just standing in the ring, Hangman's in the ring, and then just got Dax yelling at it one ear, Kenny yelling in the other ear, and you can just tell this man is just completely his world is just completely shot, because he's pretty much burned almost every bridge possible except for maybe one, and that bridge will probably not last much longer. It's not a match, but I do want to get your guys' thoughts on this segment, because we got our FTR cheerleader in this call right now. So thoughts on this segment?
FTR is brilliant and amazing and way better on the mic than Kenny Omega, and now Real Tag Team will hold the belts, and we saw the Hangman. Hangman is something, I don't know, but FTR told them exactly what the Hangman is, and they're gonna separate them, and they're gonna divide them, and they're gonna beat them down like a real tag team. Cut off the ring, work on a limb. Midnight Express, let's get out of here. 1, 2, 3. 5.5-star match.
Okay. Well, I gotta say, when I saw that Kenny was gonna address what was going on with Hangman, I was actually really excited for that, because one of my biggest criticisms of AEW is just that Kenny's never cut a promo. I think he did once a year ago when he was feuding with Mox, and since then they don't give him any mic time. And it's the reality is I know you said, Floyd, that FTR talks better than him. I don't know if I agree with that, but he really can cut a promo. He is a good talker, and he wasn't doing so.
I've never seen it, not once.
I will 100% say, you want a good Kenny Omega promo, the little video they did when it was revealed that Pac wouldn't be able to come and face Kenny Omega, and that match was getting turned around. That promo that Kenny cut was fucking great.
And it was great, but I'm just talking about that live mic in your hand.
Not Pac, sorry, I'm Moxley, my bad.
Yeah, the live mic in your hand, cut a promo. It seems like, he's never been that great at it.
But how would we? Well, okay, in North American companies, I mean, he hasn't really worked for a major North American company ever until now. And prior to that, I mean, you're talking about his ROH PWG days. In New Japan, it's a different style of promo, but he cut plenty of really great promos all the time. He can talk. He is a good talker. But for whatever reason, they haven't really given him an opportunity to like do it. So my one thing is I was like excited for that. Obviously, they were going to, we're on a go-home show out, from a pay-per-view, so it makes sense. Once FTR came out, they were good, but it was like the same thing that they've done before. They like brought out the cooler. They're giving him milk again. I'm like, okay, we've seen this before. It's kind of like old hat. I was anticipating an actual confrontation.
So something's old hat after 3 times?
Yeah.
Really?
That's the number, apparently.
Yeah. I'm just like, it's like they've been with the company like 2 months. They haven't done anything enough to be old hat.
But it's the same guys, the same like sequence. It's like, okay, we're doing this again. All right, it's not beer, it's milk. Okay, cool, you got milk. Okay, we're acting cool with you, but we're not. Now, I do like the psychological element. They're trying to basically isolate one member and work on him mentally, just like they would physically in a wrestling match, which is what they're trying to do to Adam Hangman Page, and they're trying to, keep Kenny in the corner waiting for that hot tag. So that's kind of cool. But I don't know. This kind of all just felt melodramatic to me. No one threw any punches. No one like interacted. Like, I will say Adam Page was really great. His acting was stupendous. The look on his face, his body language, the way he played off of everything they said. Like, it's very clear that this is a conflicted and tormented man. And like you guys said, he's, kind of lost all his connections. And so that puts you in like a desperate situation, which is kind of what this match is. It's do or die for him. So that's cool. But then it was like, oh no, him and Kenny had a miscommunication again, just like they have the entire time that they've ever been tagging together entirely. All right, maybe they won't win and maybe they'll break up. But this has been going on for literally the whole year. So it's fine. I really didn't love this segment. Like, it served its purpose, I guess, but, I don't know. I'm old school. I want to see someone throw a punch.
I didn't want no punch. I wanted them to make you wait. I wanted some anticipation. Now you're anticipating the FDR. They played right into the psychological game. They broke down Hangman, caused some dissension, even more dissension in between them, to the point where when he goes to hand back the belt, Hangman's not there. They are a broken tag team, and that was what FTR needed to do, because when Hangman and Kenny are on the same page, they're unbeatable. They're the best tag team in the world. So to beat them beforehand, you had to split them up. So I see. Yeah. I see, like, if they're going to do it Saturday or whatever, you're going to see some miscommunication, some stuff that's not hitting like it normally does, because it's just genius. Because, again, Kenny Omega and Hangman said it in their interview. We just decided we wanted to be a tag team. Boom, we're the champions. So that's scary.
I will say one thing. Last week you mentioned that you said that the Revival needed to teach them how to tag like a real tag team. Like, that match with the Bucks that Hangman Kenny had is better than any match that the Revival have ever had.
I disagree.
I will actually agree with that point.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna start fight, because I disagree. Because the Revival in this little company called NXT put on a couple 5-star matches with this team called at DIY, which put on amazing tag team matches, which I think I would put on the same level as the Hangman and Young Bucks match personally. But I like traditional tag team wrestling. Those matches were closer to traditional tag team wrestling than that All-Star game we saw in January or whenever that was.
The other thing I will say is I like Southern style traditional tag team wrestling too. I love the Revival circa 5 years ago, but it's been like 5 years since those dudes put out any kind of classic or any kind of banger or anything like that at all.
I think honestly, like the build has always been to when they actually like face a team like Hangman Kenny and when their match with the Young Bucks takes place. And I feel like the wait for that and the build and the payoff to when FTR faces teams like that, because I think that FTR versus Kenny Omega and Hangman has a very strong possibility of stealing the show.
Absolutely.
Actually, Tony Khan said that today.
I think we're truly going to see FTR at their highest, possibly circa back to when they were in NXT at their highest point with this upcoming match at All Out and when they do eventually face the Young Bucks.
Yeah,
I don't doubt it at all.
Yep, and they're going to have the tag rope, and it's going to be amazing, and they're going to be doing blind tags, and then they're going to do the thing. They're going to do the thing where the referee's looking away, and they just clap their hands, and that was a tag. Oh, God, bring it back. Oh, God. That's good wrestling.
There's going to be a rope on the turnbuckle. It's going to be fucking insane.
And they're going to hold on to it, and they're going to have to be holding on to it before they tag. Wow.
When I'm in wrestling training school, we don't have any tag ropes, and like I was like standing in the corner like this, and my coach is like, he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Tag rope."
I'm like, if you don't have a tag rope, what do you choke your opponent with? I'm just so confused.
Yeah, man, I don't know. But after this little segment, we had the demo god himself, Chris Jericho, taking on the bad boy Joey Janela. Jake Hager then accompanied him to the ring, and then Orange Cassidy did come down and sat ringside for this matchup. And then as Jericho removed his jacket, he had a shirt with Orange Cassidy's face on it, and Jim Ross pointed out how there were mind games that were being played. Jericho pretty much wanted to make an example out of Joey Janela to really get in the mind of Orange Cassidy in this matchup. There's a point where he removes the turnbuckle pad and then nails Joey Janela's face into it, and Janela was just getting beat up and then got busted open. He then took his Orange Cassidy t-shirt and wiped the blood on Joey Janela. And then Orange Cassidy then goes into the ring. Jake Hager stops him in his tracks. Then Sonny Kiss comes out to help out Joey Janela, and then he proceeds to knock Jericho down. Then Jake Hager then knocks Sonny Kiss down. Orange Cassidy attempts to hit the Superman punch, but then Jake Hager just pulls him out of the ring at the nick of time. And then right before the end, Orange Cassidy had a backpack with him. He pulls out a little bit of the bubbly, uncorks it, and then spills it out onto the mat as he stares down Jericho, obviously building up to the Mimosa Mayhem match that they will be having at All Out this Saturday. But this match overall, it was to serve the purpose to build towards Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy 3. There was like the way that Jericho like just beat the shit out of Joey Janela. It made a statement, and it was like, I mean, it was a good way to build, I think. I'm not sure exactly how this Mimosa Mayhem match will go. This is probably the one that I'm the most intrigued by, but also concerned by. But either way, this match did its purpose, I feel like, and it did its purpose and nothing really else. But thoughts on this matchup, guys?
I think you did a really great job encapsulating the essence of the match. Just a couple of random thoughts to sort of add here. Joey Janela, man, the most bipolar of all attire outfit choosers, because like one week he's wearing cheetah pants with like weird tassels from him, then the next week he's got the short trunks and like regular gear. Like his stuff is all over the place. Like, yeah, I'm a big fan of Joey Janela. Me and Floyd have had many a debate on the Messenger about, you know, his place in the company and that sort of thing. And, you know, right now he's jobber to the stars. That's pretty much his placement in the company, and that's exactly what he did here. You know, one thing I will say, I liked what they did here with him getting color and then Chris Jericho putting that on the shirt, because that almost sort of like alluded back to what happened, a month or so ago when they busted open Orange Cassidy and he got the blood on his shirt and the ear and everything like that. It was almost, it was also foreboding what might happen to him this coming weekend. The one problem I do have is this isn't going to be the only time we see color on this show. And we're getting to a point where every single show we're getting multiple times where people are getting busted open, and it is losing its effect.
All about that blood and guts.
But here's the thing, I am too. This is coming from a guy who literally has a rule. If a match gets color, it automatically gets a quarter star bump no matter what. And if 2 people bleed, another quarter. Every time someone else bleeds, you're getting another quarter star. Like, that's just what's going to happen. But when you're on a show where, I remember Mick Foley talked about it in one of his books. He was working for Joel Gerhardt back in the day at Tri-State Wrestling, and they had asked specifically, because he was having a hardcore match that night, that nobody else bleed on the show. And they're like, yeah, absolutely, Mick. And then the match before he goes out there, they have a first blood battle royal. Every single guy gets color to get out of the match. That like, so when he has this hardcore match, it like loses its effect because the blood isn't so shocking. And that happens on the show way too often. Like every single feud can't be a blood feud. So they kind of like need to figure out what avenue they're going down. But other than that, I am excited to see Cassidy and Jericho lock it up again. Or OC and Jericho. I like the first 2 matches. Looking forward to the third one. I don't really know what a Mimosa Mayhem match exactly is going to be. I've heard what they said, but we'll see what it's like in practice. But yeah, man, I thought it was pretty good.
Well, Joey Janela looked exactly like I think he should be treated in this company.
Oh,
good job.
my God.
Good job, Chris Jericho. And I'd like to point out to people that were arguing with me about the Janela versus Matt Cardona. One is on the pay-per-view in the match. One is not. Just throwing that out there.
One is signed to a long-term deal. The other is not.
Yeah, that is true.
For good reason.
I'm saying that's the bad thing, is that one should be signed to a contract. One shouldn't. Because the other one is his purpose is getting beat up, and that's what he did. He did it very well. He looked amazing getting beat up, and yeah, so he did good job. I love the after-match stuff. I'm moderately excited for OC versus Jericho, just because I don't really know what the match is going to be. But yeah, I thought this was a great build up to it. If you're like a casual that is just getting into it, this is like your soap opera thing as far as Orange Cassidy and Jericho. 16 weeks this has been going on. Even Jericho pointed that out. I'm looking forward to that match on Saturday.
Yeah. And now we had a quick little moment as Sammy Guevara walked out to the tunnel and had his poster board continuing to talk about Matt Hardy and saying how he will have Matt Hardy be deleted. And then we saw more of this broken rules match at All Out. And if Sammy wins, it will be the last we see of Matt Hardy in AEW. And we'll talk about that more when we get closer to talking about All Out and talking about the later segment on this show. We then had Taz come out with the FTW champ Brian Cage and Absolute Ricky Starks, talking about how Darby Allin needs to watch out for Ricky Starks and Lance Archer needs to be careful of the Machine Brian Cage. Jake the Snake Roberts and Lance Archer come out and interrupt him. And then Eddie Kingston comes out and he walks out with the Lucha Bros and Butcher and the Blade. This segment was a lot of people. And then Sean Spears was walking down the ramp. Darby Allin's music hits and launches at Ricky Starks and just destroying each other. And then just everyone starts fighting everybody. Jake Hager and Santana Ortiz came in. Then Best Friends came in. And then it was a way to build towards the Casino Battle Royal that will be taking place on Saturday, where 21 people will be competing for a future shot at the AEW World Championship. Obviously, the easiest and most textbook used way to build a battle royale where you just have everybody destroying everybody, and this is what the scene will look like with the Casino Battle Royale. I said that the last point in the show where Joey Janela and Chris Jericho's match was served to just build towards the show and nothing else. This served its purpose and absolutely nothing else. I will say this was probably the weakest part on the show for me. I knew what it was building towards the instant that everyone started coming out and doing their little bit. And I'm excited for the Casino Battle Royale. I think it's very great that it's back. But this segment, I knew exactly what it was getting across, and it really just did that. And again, nothing really else. But any other thoughts on this segment that you guys have?
Yeah, you forgot to mention, you named a lot of competitors that came out and were involved here, but you forgot to name the most important individual that's involved with the segment.
Go ahead.
The fabulous one, the monarch of manliness, the butterfly, my training partner, Fabu Andre.
No way. I had no idea.
Yeah. But, yeah, I saw him get thrown out pretty quick.
I mean, hey, that might not happen this weekend, but I'm hoping and praying for you now because I had no idea he was in that match, but now I'm pulling for him.
I think there was a lot more than 21 people in that segment already, so I doubt he's going to actually be in the Casino Battle Royal.
And they got to have
well,
some...
if he's in it, then he's in it.
Yeah, they got to have some surprises. This segment was a complete cluster F. If you ever had an argument for writers and rehearsing something before a show, this segment was it, because they were talking all over each other. It kind of went on too long, and it lost any... It did set up the rivalries that are going to be happening into the Battle Royal, which I thought was good. But I just think if you're watching it, you're just like, you kind of got lost in all of it.
I sort of liked it. I'm not going to judge it too harshly. I agree with most of the things you said, Floyd, but to me, a little chaos isn't like the worst thing in the world. I did think that they were like a little lost when they were trying to cut their promos. They probably should have rehearsed that. But, I really like Eddie Kingston, and I liked his going back and forth with Taz, that sort of thing. But ultimately, this thing was all over the place. Like, they went to commercial break. They were fighting through the break. They came back from the break. Everyone was still fighting. Like, this is the kind of thing that they traditionally would have, like, ended a go-home show for the Royal Rumble or something like that, back in the day on Raw. They would have ended the show with this. But it was in the middle of the show. And I actually thought it was so crazy and so all over the place. It sort of like killed the audience for the rest of the show for the last two segments.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I got nothing really else to say about it because it's the typical like build towards a Casino Battle Royale matchup.
Yeah,
so
I was
it's just
saying,
there's nothing really
okay.
else.
I was just saying I felt that too. I accidentally had it on mute when I was talking before. Okay, yeah. No, that was on me.
No worries.
Josh is pointing like I can't hear you, and I'm like, what the hell? And my switch was down. I just felt like it just got lost on each other, and especially with Jake, who will talk for an hour if you let him. You really have to have, okay, you got 10 seconds to get your thought out. You got 10 seconds for you to get your thought out, so there's a little more organization. And Jake loves to cut off people in the middle of their sentences, and it just throws off the whole segment at times. Because I don't feel like him and Taz said what they wanted to say. I think Eddie Kingston got more near to what he wanted to say, but I don't think Jake or Taz really said what they wanted to say going into the match.
No. Yeah, it's just a lot together, and honestly, it's just we knew what it was building towards, but the segment didn't do the best job of portraying what it wanted to and have the feuds continue that would be in this matchup. But overall, I'm sure the Casino Battle Royal match will be good, but this segment was not good. But after this, we had the NWA Women's Champion Thunder Rosa taking on Serena, my girl from the Straight Edge Society. She looks so weird with hair. I'm not used to it. I need shaved, and I need Punk to come out with like a mask or something with Luke Gallows, and then everything will be okay in my book. It was weird to me, but I popped hard when I saw her because I was like, holy shit! Because I think I'm the only person who cares about like old school Straight Edge Society stuff anymore because I'm a fucking mark for Punk. Either way, this is the first chance that we got to see on AEW Thunder Rosa take on someone. It was a squash match, very much so. They had Deeb, I think, get a little bit of offense in. Yeah, she had a neck breaker at one point and then proceeded to just take Thunder Rosa's knee and drive it into the mat over and over again. And Thunder Rosa then was able to end up hitting the Thunder Driver and hit the pin on Deeb and Serena and got the victory. This will build towards the AEW Women's Championship match against Hikaru Shida, and I'm for it. I think it was a good way to get Thunder Rosa on TV and quickly introduce her again after they use the video package and the promos and all that stuff. And I'm really excited to see how this matchup goes, because from what I've seen of Thunder Rosa on NWA Power, I think she's really, really good. And I'm very excited for this matchup overall. But your guys' thoughts?
Yeah. So this, I agree. I really liked the video packages and the build up. And if you follow like the Road 2 show that they've done and some of the backstage stuff, they've done a good job. Sort of building to the match between these two champions, which is great. They had the match, and in my opinion, and this is something me and Floyd have talked about quite a bit off the air, I thought that this was the match of the night personally. I thought it was a really, really good match. I did disagree with you slightly, Austin. I didn't think this was necessarily a squash. I mean, when I say that, I was like, my mindset with it being a squash is that we knew the victor regardless. But honestly, gotcha. Serena did get a good amount of back and forth offense in this matchup, and I don't want to like put that mindset that it was a squash match. It wasn't. It was just a really good matchup between them to get Thunder Rosa some time on TV. But yeah, that's where my mindset went when I was describing the match, but it wasn't really a squash. They had what I would call a classic athletic babyface match. It wasn't one where anyone had a shine or a heat, but it was more akin to like your classic World of Sport face versus face match where they're just out there having an athletic competition against one another, showcasing their goods. What can they do? And you're absolutely right. Serena Deeb looked really good. She's actually better than the majority of the women that they do have signed in AEW, to be honest.
I would like them to actually sign her, because I would be all for that. Yeah, I mean,
she's definitely an older veteran talent, but she has a lot to offer still. And she kind of showed that here. And it wasn't a situation where Thunder Rosa had to carry anybody, but they were able to just kind of go out there and work their match. The one thing that was very strange, the crowd dead silent. I mean, completely silent, which would make sense if it was like a fan audience crowd where nobody knows, say Thunder Rosa, they're not familiar with her, or they're just, apathetic to the women. But this is primarily majority worker crowd. And I don't know if since they've gone, through the COVID period that I've ever seen them actually go completely dead ass silent for any match ever before. And one of two things either happened here. Either they got burned out from that giant brawl right before it, or there's some insider shit that they know about that we don't know about. Like, I'm smelling a little bit of a sabotage here, honestly, because the match was fantastic and you would not know it at all from the audience. But last couple points, Thunder Rosa, good match. She looked strong. She beat this girl clean. We move on. The one thing I would have probably changed, the only thing, they should have had Hikaru Shida at least be at ringside, or at least come out and acknowledge her, or do a face-to-face or something. But they didn't do anything. And so it's like, this is the kind of move you make 4 weeks out or 6 weeks out from a pay-per-view. You don't do it the go-home show. That's the only problem I had with it.
Yes, this was a good match, but me and Josh actually had a bit of a discussion about this last night, and the weirdest thing in the world, a person I never agree with, Mr. Brian Alvarez, who I just generally don't agree with on anything, said on Wrestling Observer Radio this much: they didn't need a good match. Thunder Rosa should have came out, killed her in like 3 seconds, and bounced. And that was my opinion. It's just, you want Thunder Rosa to look strong. You want her to look like a threat towards your current champion. I think beating someone, it didn't have to be Serena Deeb, cleanly, concisely, and like really over, leads more to more excitement Saturday than pretty much this 60-40 match with Serena Deeb. I didn't mind the match. I thought it was a well-executed match. JR even pointed out, he said, this is one of the more technically sound women's matches we've had in a long time. He's like, I didn't know if it was funny because he did I don't know if it's okay to say women, but it was a very technically, it was a very technically sound match, and I have no problems with the match. I have a problem with this match not doing what it needed to do for Thunder Rosa to look like the star that she needs to look like before Saturday. She looked like, to some people unlike you that might not be familiar with Serena Deeb being on TV, she pretty much went 50-50 with the nobody, and that sucks. And I am, like I said, I just thought they could have done the big squash on national TV. Everybody see Thunder Rosa being dominant, getting into a match ready for Shida. I thought that would have been best. It didn't happen. We got a good 10 minutes of women's wrestling. It seemed to make, Josh pointed out, and I've noticed today, it seemed to make Twitter very happy. So, and Tony said on the call today that he listens to his fans, and they said they wanted more wrestling in the second hour of the Go Home show, so he made sure that was there. I can't say I have any problem with it. It's just, I think it would have been better with the squash.
Yeah, that was my one thinking when we were discussing it last night, was there's been so many criticisms about the amount of time that they give to the women to actually work, And so you're right, Floyd. They could have easily had Thunder Rosa go out there and squash her and then make her look strong and then moved on. But that's something that they've done many times for Nyla. It's something that they did recently for Big Swole, and people criticized it every time they did that. So I think they're trying to maybe sway away from that and do something different. And maybe they're like, all right, well, if we give them time to work and actually showcase their skills, I think the thing that I think really did hurt it is what I mentioned earlier, is the crowd. I think, because personally, I felt like this was the best women's match that they've had since the last pay-per-view with Hikaru Shida and Nyla Rose. So I personally enjoyed the match. I could see why some people thought that, this didn't benefit, but they did. The one thing is, you guys are absolutely right, and I feel like I'm right in the fact that even though the match was good, they didn't do anything to actually promote the feud or rivalry on the air that evening between the two champions. And now that was their last opportunity. Now we're moving on. The match is happening this Saturday. And, you never,
I don't feel like it has any heat.
Yeah, there is no heat. And that was their opportunity to give it heat. And they didn't, they didn't do anything they should have had both champions out there with their belts staring at each other, or if they wanted to go the route where they're going to have the big athletic contest and then put Thunder Rosa over strong, then Hikaru Shida comes out and puts it over. She looks at her, she claps her hand, she puts her over, and then she looks at her and raises her belt up and lets her know, you had a good little match, but Saturday you're going fucking down. And they didn't do that.
Okay, well, see, we agree. So there you go.
Yeah, honestly, it would have been a better ending to the match. And honestly, I agree with fans being like, they don't, because I think just the idea of squash matches for the most part have just fans know what it is, and it doesn't really get them crazy hyped for a certain superstar, because we know the ins and outs of how booking certain superstars go, and just the idea of all this kind of stuff. So squash matches don't really do anything to get people intrigued, because they know what it is, and it doesn't really make somebody latch onto a superstar or a wrestler that quickly. It's just the way that things have changed.
And I feel like if they were going to do a 10-minute match, it should have been with somebody that the viewing audience would have known.
Yeah,
maybe Penelope Ford, or just somebody from the roster that they know that Shida has maybe struggled with, and then Thunder Rosa beats her, not a squash, but pretty definitive, and you're like, oh, well, Shida had a problem with her, and Thunder Rosa beat her a little bit more clean, or whatever you wanted to do. It just seems like Serena Deeb, she hasn't really been on TV in a long time, so. That was my problem with it. She was in the Mae Young Classic, and the hardcore wrestling fans are gonna know who she is. It's just the other people aren't going to know who she is.
Sure.
Agreed with you, Floyd. One thing, though, even though it might have added a little bit more, cachet to the win for her to beat someone like a Penelope Ford or Abaddon or something like that, the reality is nobody that's in the top 5 can have the kind of match Serena Deeb had with her.
Oh, no, I completely
None of those
agree.
women are competent enough to actually have that style match.
When anyone asks about the women's division, I'm like, it's a talent issue. I've always said that. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation for them right now, and I think they're trying their best. They're working out the kinks, and I hope we'll see what happens going forward.
That's why I always try to be honest for the women's division. I just want to we just try to be upfront, and it's like I understand. I'm not ignoring it. It's just it is what it is for right now.
And I feel like it'll just take a little bit of time before things start going upward with that. But after this, we quickly had right before our main event, we had one last segment.
Oh, can I say one thing? I there was something I forgot. It slipped my mind. So you had mentioned fans don't like squash matches. I'll tell you a little secret. They love squash matches. When the people doing the squashing beat the ass of the people getting squashed. Like when it's the Steiner brothers or like
Goldberg. That was his whole career.
Or Goldberg or the Road Warriors, and they're fucking up whoever it was that they're fighting. Or Yokozuna hitting those like bonsai drops as hard as he possibly could. People love it. But when it's like, when it's just like a protected match or whatever, like the secret is you actually have to beat their ass.
Yeah. It's gotta be like you're literally ripping them limb from limb. So it's gotta be, if it's a squash match, you literally need to have the guy who's getting squashed or the girl getting squashed get whipped around and then just destroyed and just pretty much toyed with.
The last guy that they built that was like beating people up like that I liked was like Ryback, and because he was actually hitting people, and they haven't, and like nobody in the world has done that since like 2012, 2013.
Oh man, you said a good thing about Ryback. I need to take a drink. Sorry about that. We'll leave that. I'll leave that, and I won't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
They drew money off that once.
Sure, yeah. At one point in time, there's a different time.
No, just literally one time. They drew money with him and Punk, and then that was it. It was over.
Yeah, exactly. But that was more Punk's doing. But whatever. I'm letting my marks show. But we'll get into the main event of the show. AEW World Champion Jon Moxley facing MJF's attorney, Mark Sterling. As we talked about last week on the show in the great segment that was, where Jon Moxley had the added page 17 in the contract where Moxley can use the paradigm shift tonight as he faces Sterling in a match before All Out. And if he does not show, then MJF will not receive the title match. And Mark Sterling comes out and he goes in and just does not. He tries at one point to like get some moments going in, but it very much quickly he wasn't getting at all any offense whatsoever. He did get to one point where he poked him in the eyes, but then Moxley then quickly clotheslined him to the outside. He then brings chairs and piles chairs and a barricade onto Sterling, then removes one of his sneakers and starts hitting him with it, and then hits him with the paradigm shift. And then after that happens, Wardlow runs into the ring and clotheslines Moxley and then sends him with the F10. And then MJF then comes down and then just starts beating him down. And then Moxley gets busted open. He's got like a wife beater on, and then he's just got blood spewing all over. He's putting it in its face after he hits him with the Dynamite ring. God damn it, alliteration. And yeah, Wardlow hands MJF the title, says this is the future right here. And then the show ended with MJF holding the AEW World Championship over Mox title over his bloodied carcass, and that's how the show went off the air. Now, as a main event and as the closing image that we saw leading into All Out and for the Go Home show, your guys' thoughts on this match? Because I thought it was fine. I thought MJF did a lot of great healing in this segment, but like we kind of knew what this was going to be going into it, and yeah, it was just kind of what I feel like most of us kind of expected it to be. But your guys' thoughts?
I hated this segment. And for a few reasons. I didn't like what happened last week when Moxley like signed off on this because he was like, oh, well, you guys didn't read it. I got a clause in there. And when I was like, oh, he got a clause, there's something that MJF's not going to be able to do, or something that gives, him it levels the playing field in the match. And then he was like, I get your lawyer next week. It's like, what? Who wanted it?
It was different. Yeah, it was.
How is that smart? Who wanted to see this? The thing is, traditionally speaking, when you have a situation where there's some sort of like non-wrestler entity, whether it's a manager or, say Andy Kaufman with Jerry Lawler or something like that, you usually want it to be someone that the fans are just, first off, you want there to be fans. You want to draw money off of it. I guess TV ratings works too, but you want it to be something to where people are clamoring for it because it's been building and building and building, and it has to happen because the babyface has to get their comeuppance against this sniving, snarling, whatever, like this little shit that he hasn't been able to get his hands on. We've had the build with like his lawyer for like 2-3 weeks, and it's been pretty negligible. It was like, who really wanted to see this? What audience was this for? It wasn't for me. I don't know about you guys, but I was just like, maybe down the road, there's a story to be told there. But it's like, his lawyer, you're going to beat up his lawyer? I don't understand how that helps you in your title match this coming weekend. The match was just whatever. Like, the match was fine, but the way they worked it would have worked better if there was heat behind it. And there was no heat because they only had 2 or 3 weeks to build to it. To me, it kind of made Mox look like a dumb babyface. He's like, all right, I'll let you take away my finisher, which there's no actual reason to take it away, but I get your lawyer. It's like, dude, that's not smart. That's stupid. You're losing. You're giving away a huge advantage. And I know, like, he's tough enough to beat him without his finisher. I get it, but it's like, but why? Why would you do that? It makes no sense.
Usually I try to add something to what you said, but I agree with everything you said there. It's like there's nothing I don't agree with. This is kind of a nothing segment. Moxley is the champion, so you should be negotiating from a position of power. Why would you give up? Why would you give up any power you had? Oh, yeah. So you don't want to wrestle me unless I give you what you want, then... Okay, we're not wrestling.
Right. That is literally a thought that I had, but I forgot to mention it here. That's exactly right. The only thing that really saved this was the healing of MJF when he came in. But I'll tell you one thing. MJF's like, you guys want some violence? You got some violence. But I was like, what did you do? You punched him in the ring. I saw this dude get hacked with a weed cutter. Like, if you're going to bring there's more violence the entire rest of the show than what you just did in this segment. Like,
I'll show you violence that I can get away with on TNT.
Well, I'm like, put them through a table. If you're going to, I'm not usually advocate for that sort of thing, but it's like, if you're going to show us quote unquote violence, then do it. Show us some violence. Do something. I don't know what it has to be, but just punching him and then him bleeding is not it. Like, we already saw Jericho bust open Janela earlier in the night, and that was more violent. The first match of the night was more violent. Actually, every single match that night was more violent than this segment. I just didn't think it was a good way to send people off.
Yeah.
Anticipating this world title match. Like, I feel like the world title match program, which could have and should have been really good, aside from some good promos, there's not much heat behind it, honestly.
No, honestly, I think leading into like the contract signing that was last week, I think that was their point where they really tried to sell this feud hardcore, and they were doing a decent job. And again, like, if there was, and like you said, and I totally agree, if there was like a different stipulation added, like, honestly, what they could have done, and I think it would have made total sense, if he can't use the paradigm shift, but I get you in a steel cage. Doesn't that make more sense? Like, I get you in a steel cage, so your buddy Wardlow can't do anything in this matchup. So,
or ban Wardlow from ringside. Yeah, it's just anything.
Dude,
yeah, exactly.
Anything would have been better. Like, and then MJF, they cut a backstage promo where MJF like was basically telling his lawyer, like, you're either going to fight this guy or I'm going to put you in a wood chipper. So then they got sympathy on the lawyer. So he went in there as a sympathetic babyface. Like, he didn't go in there as this heat magnet heel.
Yeah.
Like, it made the dynamics were really weird. Yeah. Oh, it's fine. We'll talk about it later. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah. Overall, I think we can all pretty much agree on this. This was a pretty weird way to end the go home show for.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was a go home show. You know, it wasn't a great go home show, but it was a go home show. I am not as excited for All Out as I have been for like any of their other shows. Even Double or Nothing with in front of people, I was still like, okay, this is about to go down. I don't feel that way about All Out. Maybe it ends up knocking it out of the park despite that, but I don't feel the excitement for the show right now.
Here's the positive thing I will say. As far as it being a go-home show, I think that obviously the way you end a weekly Dynamite is, especially on a go-home show, is really important, and I think they kind of floundered and missed there. But when you look at the show in totality, every single segment, every single match, every single thing that they did was literally pointing to the pay-per-view itself. And even if they had a misstep here or there, overall, it was actually a really strong go-home show, which most, like, if you compare it to WWE or NXT, they don't even do that anymore.
You'll have I don't remember which pay-per-view it was, but you'll have WWE go into a pay-per-view where like literally 3 matches are announced and then like 3 more get announced the day of the show.
Right. And last year that trend kind of became huge, and we were sort of like dumbfounded by it because even by their standards that was bad, but now we've kind of forgotten, and that's just become standard practice for them.
Yeah, and it's like I do like that every single segment and every single match had a purpose to build towards All Out. Whether or not they build to it properly is a completely different story, but I agree with you. I like how they built to each match, so that way every match had a reason to get built towards. And really the only match that wasn't built to on this go-home show was Dark Order versus Matt Cardona, Scorpio Sky, and the Natural Nightmares. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I hate to be the stand guy on this show because this is something I've heard Floyd and Amy and different people say on the show previously, and I kind of scoffed at it because I thought it was it's a true statement, but it's something only a real fanboy would say. But I'm going to say it. If this is the worst that Dynamite's going to give us, then it's a pretty good show.
Yeah, no, it's honestly, we've been so spoiled with some of the stuff that we've seen on Dynamite and on their pay-per-views and whatnot. So, like, considering that this is probably like one of the weaker shows that they've had in terms of like building towards a pay-per-view, that's saying a lot because you look a couple companies down and like see what other big time promotions are doing, and some of the stuff they do is just leaves you scratching your head being like, what on earth is going on?
Now, you don't even have to look a few companies down. Look one company up.
There you go.
And you'll see just total incompetence. And I would literally put this show up pound for pound against any TV show that they've put on in the last, 2-3 years. And you're probably going to have a pretty compelling argument that this might be a better show than anything they've put out in years. Literally.
Yeah, sure. But overall, that is the go-home show for All Out on this episode of AEW Dynamite. As we've talked about, it wasn't the best go-home show. Really, there was points where some of the matches didn't get good builds. There was a lot of really good moments on this show, like I said, like Serena versus Thunder Rosa, and a lot of other good moments, like the build towards Jericho and Orange Cassidy was really well done, and just the overall, just everything going on with the Elite has been nothing but quality. I've really been enjoying that, and that's been my favorite part, leading into what's probably going to lead to a lot of changes in the Elite going into All Out. But any other thoughts you want to give on this show before we head over to give our preview for All Out? Or is that everything? Is that everything you guys got?
That's everything I got.
All right.
That's everything for me.
All right, yeah. So real quick then, before we get into our all-out preview, and I will assume predictions as well, I want to let you guys know that support for All Things Elite is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you with the best tools for your grooming experience. And if you go and use the code SUPLEX with your order, you get 20% off that order, and you get free shipping. Not one or the other or neither. That would be ridiculous. It would be like the code did nothing. But no, our code gives you 20% off and free shipping if you use the code SUPLEX. And Floyd, as always, will tell you even more.
Yes, Lawnmower 3.0. That's the big thing from Manscaped is their shaver. I personally use it not for my downstairs area. I use it for my face. It helps me get good lines, keeps my beard even when I remember to do it. But it's one of the best razors out in the market, if not the best razor out in the market. And for the people I know that do use it on their family jewels, they have no complaints about it. Now we are doing a special promotion. I mean, you would have to basically order it today, but if you order something from Manscaped using the Suplex code and you send an email to socialsuplex@gmail.com, we will go ahead and order all out for you. So you will get your Manscaped product, which is product on its own. It's worth the money with the 20% off and the free shipping. Plus you'll get all out. Again, this expires, before all out, when all out starts. So if you don't do it within that 24 to 40, 36 hour window, you won't be able to get it. But, that's additional offer that we are giving from Social Suplex. We hope we know you'll like Manscaped if you try it. So definitely go to the site and check out the products that they have.
Yes, thank you again to Manscaped for sponsoring the podcast. Now, going into the all-out pay-per-view taking place on Saturday, we first have the buy-in matchup, the tooth and nail match between Big Swole and Britt Baker, which I think we might have glossed over a little bit because there was a point in the Dynamite where Big Swole had a little interview with Tony Schiavone. Britt Baker then came out dressed up as a pizza delivery person and was delivering a pizza to Tony Schiavone. She really wasn't, and then she proceeded to beat up Big Swole to lead into this matchup. It was a quick segment. We didn't really touch on it in the Dynamite, but it was a quick little segment to build into that match. And it will be a tooth and nail match between Big Swole and Britt Baker. This will be her return to the ring after being out for injury for Britt Baker. Kind of surprised that this match is taking the buy-in spot. I didn't really expect it to. I thought more so Dark Order versus Cardona, Sky, and the Natural Nightmares would take that buy-in spot. But either way, I'm very excited to see what the hell a tooth and nail match is. And second of all, I guess if I'll make my prediction, I will go with Dr. Britt Baker making her return and getting her first win back in the ring. But yeah, it just kind of surprised me seeing this match on the buy-in.
Yeah, as far as I don't know if you mentioned this just now, Austin, but it is confirmed this is going to be a cinematic match.
That's what that's the thing is that it's what I heard, and it was a bit questioning to me because it's a cinematic match that they're doing for a match like Britt Baker and Big Swole, which I don't think I would say doesn't deserve a match that would be cinematic quality. But the reason as to why it's on the buy-in confuses me, and just the placement of it just seems very odd to me, and the decision to make it a cinematic match with this tooth and nail match. I think these two have great chemistry together. Big Swole is obviously unbelievably entertaining, and Britt Baker's really coming to her own as this new heel persona. So I think they have the ability to do something good with this kind of matchup. I'm interested as to how the hell it'll work out, though, because when you think of matches that could be cinematic, I don't think people would point to this one as one that they would consider to be using that template.
I think what's going on here, and this is just I'm just kind of speculating here. I don't think Britt Baker is ready to actually fully return to the ring.
That's the thought that went through my mind too. Yeah.
Because they sort of teased that she was ready to come back the other week when they did the the handicap match, but she really didn't do much or even truly like take any bumps or anything of that nature. And they've been building this literally for like 6 months. It's probably like been the most involved female feud in all of AEW up to this, at least for this calendar year. So they kind of had to pay it off, especially with how much TV they devoted to it, how much time and promotion they've given to it. But if hypothetically, if Britt is, let's just say she's not in competitive shape, just due to her injury, what's your options? You can't put them on the actual pay-per-view. So, you got to pay it off. So maybe you do a smoke and mirrors cinematic match that's very in vogue right now, but it's not on the actual pay-per-view. They're giving it away on the buy-in, which is actually kind of smart if you really think about it, because for the people that are going to criticize that they're doing a cinematic match, it's like, well, at least it's not on the pay-per-view. It's on the buy-in, so it's not even really part of the actual pay-per-view. It's like, okay, cool. But for the people that are like intrigued by it, they're like, oh, they're doing a cinematic match and it's free. Maybe the buy-in is a good spot for them to kind of put that, that might entice, I don't know what the metrics are, how many people actually tune into those things and then buy the pay-per-view based off of it. But if they are going to have a chance at succeeding with it, that's one where they might actually do it. So I'm not a big fan of the cinematic matches, but I can kind of see why they're doing it here, and I'm not opposed to it. Floyd?
No, I am very excited. Tony said today that they were doing it to protect Britt. That's smart. I think she's more valuable long term than this just one match. And it being on the buy-in, it'll be the focus of the buy-in. It won't take away from any other match, and it'll be a great way to introduce people that are checking out to decide if they're going to buy it. That will be a great way to get them involved in it, because of course you can reshoot, cut, and get the best version of the match out there for your audience. So I'm looking forward to it. As a person that'll be live in attendance, it is going to be weird because I'll pretty much just be watching it on the screen, but you know what? Try to be just as pumped up for it. But I'm calling. I think Swole gets the first win. I think they'll give Britt the win in a regular match later to set up her eventual, challenging for the title.
Yeah, I agree. I think Big Swole probably wins here just because she is the babyface. It's a tooth and nail match, so this is probably happening maybe in Britt Baker's dentist office. I don't know. Maybe this will be her quote unquote signature match, but it'll be like her signature match that she always loses, sort of like Mick Foley in Hell in a Cell.
Yeah. But like you said, if it's for the reasoning to protect Britt Baker, which makes all the sense in the world as to why they're doing a cinematic match, yeah, that's totally fine. When I heard it, I was very much confused, but then thinking more so about it, it makes way more sense when you hear Tony talk about it, when you actually think it over. But starting off on the actual pay-per-view for All Out, Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express, which we saw get confirmed on this episode of Dynamite. And I feel like going into it, I think, because Young Bucks is just, their mindset has been really interesting, and I think the way that they're acting is going to show a different side that they're trying to showcase, and I think the Young Bucks are going to end up getting the victory on this matchup. And considering the kind of stuff that they're doing recently, I think this matchup has a tendency to be really, really strong, and I think would be a really strong opening matchup if it ends up being placed there. But, I mean, the matchup itself just sounds great on paper anyway. So your guys' thoughts on this match and who will go over?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the long-term booking for the Bucks. I think most people are anticipating a, collision between the Young Bucks and FTR, but it's I think a lot of people were hoping for maybe that to happen by, say, this pay-per-view, and they do their pay-per-views, every 3 months? Basically?
About.
So, I mean, that's a long time to kind of keep them away. I think the Bucks go over here. They're the big stars. It's a pay-per-view. It's All Out. It's their house. So I assume they're going to win here. But Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus are extremely popular, especially with women and children. And being placed in there with two dynamos like Matt and Nick Jackson, this match is probably going to be really, really, really good. Especially Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus really tend to turn it up for the pay-per-views, so this will probably be very impressive. I've got the Bucks here.
And Floyd, your thoughts on this matchup? Is he muted again?
I think they're going to do something a little vicious in the match. The Young Bucks, and they're going to get the win against Jurassic. What I said at the beginning, I think this match is going to be a great match, and the Young Bucks are going to do something a little vicious towards the end of the match, maybe something a little unnecessary, and that's going to get them to win against Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. I don't know what it could be. It really has been kind of a cool build between them going to their dark side has always happened against Jurassic Express, with Kenny Omega attacking Marco Stunt after the match, and now we got this tag team match set up, how they were kind of not wanting to tag them on Wednesday, and it just seems like they're trying to build to something with the Jurassic Express and the Elite. Like that's their first stepping stone towards the dark side.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that you mentioned was like them stepping to the dark side, quote unquote, whatever that may be. If you really think about it, because Nick and Matt, aside from where the three places they really spent a lot of time, I mean, ROH, PWG, and New Japan, and they kind of split their time between those three. There was never really a time for them to really establish a character. They're just kind of an attraction, this tag team attraction who they're the Bucks. All over the indies. When you go to see them, you pay to go see the Bucks. But now that they're weekly on TV, they kind of fall into that conundrum of like, you think of guys like Undertaker, Y2J, and Dean Ambrose, and all these different people who like constantly reinvent themselves. And it's like, eventually, with how long they've been together and how long their act has kind of stayed the same, they kind of have to go through some sort of metamorphosis. Otherwise, they're just going to always be – I mean, how long could they even be the Young Bucks with that name there, like Young? How long can they be the Young Bucks? Like, I'm not sure how long they can do that. There has to be some sort of shift in their persona or character at some point in their career to continue to be intriguing, especially on a weekly episodic television show. It's just got to happen, and this might be the catalyst of that, honestly.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be – there's going to be a lot of movements towards that, I think, like past this show and onward. But after this is Dark Order, which will consist of Brody Lee, Colt Cabana, Stu Grayson, and Evil Uno versus Matt Cardona, Scorpio Sky, and the Natural Nightmares. Considering the run that the Dark Order has been on, and with Brody becoming the TNT champion a couple weeks ago, I don't see Dark Order losing this match. I see someone like QT taking the pin, and then Dark Order continues their reign as being like just ruling over AEW and with the TNT title and continuing to cause hell for the Nightmare family and for people like Cody. The only other way I could see this going is like Cody making a return and then causing the Dark Order to lose that match. But I think Cody should be off TV a little bit longer before he makes his return to go back after Brody Lee. But I have Dark Order for this.
Cardona said he signed for, I believe, 4 dates. Was that 4 appearances or 4 matches? Do you guys know?
I would have to go to Floyd for that one.
They have not really been very clear on that, whether it's 4 dates, 4 appearances, or whatever. When, according to Voices of Wrestling, they said he might have 2 or 3. It's just depending on if that first appearance with Cody actually counts.
So this could hypothetically be like his swan song.
Yeah, I mean it's very possible, and I think because I don't know exactly how long people thought Matt Cardona would stick around in AEW, and with what he's been doing with his Figures podcast, that's a completely different avenue that he's got. So it's if this is the swan song for Matt Cardona, it's a short period of time, and we didn't really get to see that much of him, and I would have liked to see more, but I'm at least glad that he showed up.
Oh my God. I hope if this is like his goodbye, that the Dark Order does something to really send him off to get some serious heat so that they can build a story. And I'm not saying he should never come back. That's not even like, I'm not being a troll right now and playing against Floyd. I'm being dead ass. Like, if he's only signed temporarily, do something big to send him off if this is his. Utilize that opportunity with him being a quote-unquote best friend of Cody. Really capitalize on this. Maybe they can stretcher job him like they stretcher jobbed Cody. Other than that, there's not much to this match that's really intriguing to me. It's just kind of an extension of the Brody Lee Cody feud, and I agree with you. I think Dark Order is going to win here. The only real kind of X factor is like Scorpio Sky's here, but he's an SCU guy, but he's like involved in it because they wanted to get him on the card, but there's something else for him to do. So I don't really like that aspect of it. But I don't know if it's Matt Cardona's last night or not, but if it is, I'm calling it right now. Stretcher job.
All right.
I mean, that would make sense. You know, you take out Cody's friend that builds up the heat with Cody's feud with the Dark Order. I mean, I have a different prediction, but if my other prediction doesn't happen, I think Cody shows up and attacks Brody Lee at some point. Maybe he even gets taken out again, but I think he does show. I think he's going to be there on this show. I don't think there's any way he's missing this show.
I feel very confident that Cody's not going to be on this show.
All right. And I was going to say, I think it would be best if he got kept off TV for a little bit longer before he makes his return. So you got your predictions on that side to hash it out and think about. Casino Battle Royal. Now, this is going to be the one with the predictions that's going to be the most interesting. The winner of this will get a shot at the AEW World Championship. Now, leading into this, honestly, and I don't know why, it's just the way my mind's working, I'm leaning towards Eddie Kingston for this winner. And
go ahead.
I was just going to say, that's what I'd like to see the most, because if Moxley ends up retaining the title, that's what I'd like to see the most. But if MJF wins, then obviously you had a babyface getting over with that. Maybe it's Darby Allin. Maybe it's somebody else. But if Moxley ends up continuing to hold that title, I would like to see Eddie Kingston and Moxley. And that's where my mind goes with that. And considering the people in the matchup, Eddie Kingston is the one that I think could be the one that people consider, but not sure if they goes for it. That's who I would go with, at least.
Yeah, I'm looking online, and there's 17 names that are listed out of the 21. So we already have a good portion of the field filled out, but that leaves 18, 19, 20. So 4 spots that are to be determined. So if I was just going solely based off of who is here, I would probably agree with you. The one other option worth considering is Lance Archer.
Yeah.
I think that those got to be I think Eddie Kingston, given his status as the head of this new faction, and then Lance Archer, just given his trajectory and his status in the company, those two have to be your favorites, because Darby Allin and Brian Cage have already gotten title shots in the past, and I don't see anyone else that's listed. And then obviously there's your 4 outsiders. We don't know who they are going to be. And in the past, this company has loved to bring in like an X Factor guy or girl at the last second to kind of be the real title challenger. So if history tells us anything, it's not going to be any of these 17 people. But if it is going to be one of them, it's probably going to be Lance Archer or Eddie Kingston. Last couple thoughts. This field looks a lot better than the Casino Battle Royale from last year, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
I don't like the format that they did last year, though, where they bring in like fields of 5. Like, I hated that, and so I'm sure they're probably
with the card with like each of them has a suit and stuff like that.
I'm sure they're going to keep doing it, but I hope they don't do that. I hope they just have a battle royal. Probably at All In, they just had a battle royal, and it was way better than this.
Yeah.
Well,
considering that we never saw them build it up with like somebody drawing cards or whatever, honestly, I think that they might be just doing away with that whole concept.
They are not doing away with that whole concept.
Are they not?
They are actually going to do the 5 in, 5 out, just like they did previously. Maybe they'll
double down.
Maybe they're going to do it on.
Hey.
Maybe they're going to do it on the road to or whatever the preview show is tomorrow night, or countdown or whatever. But apparently that's how they're doing it. I have 2 bold predictions for this match. First bold prediction: Nyla Rose is going to be in it. Second bold prediction: Cody's gonna win it.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
I mean, okay. So
should we be shocked at all that that's his prediction?
The first prediction, I mean, Nyla's kind of just copying Jordan Grace at that point.
I mean, okay. I mean, copying something that's good, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. And then the second thing is, like, Cody's definitely not winning this shit.
Cody's going to come in at 21, win it, and, be like, he has a title shot. What's he going to do? I just feel like that would be like a big news segment from this episode leading into Dynamite on Wednesday.
Now to jump a little bit ahead, does that mean your prediction for the AEW Championship is going to react accordingly to your prediction for the Battle Royale?
No, it is not. Because
okay.
I don't believe so.
He's compartmentalizing all his predictions.
No,
okay.
Yeah. Because honestly, the Cody thing is only based on if he doesn't. I feel like he's either going to show up at the 8-man or something. I don't feel like there's a way that they would have Cody not be on All Out, since it is the baby of All In. It's the show. There's no way they're going to not have him on it.
Can I give you guys one closing thought on this match?
Sure.
Fuck Austin Gunn. I fucking hate Austin Gunn.
I heard Austin and I was like, what'd I do?
Every single week when I'm watching AEW with my girlfriend or the pay-per-views, literally, I see Austin Gunn's ass just trying so hard to get in front of the camera. It's like, bro, like, God, I hate Austin Gunn. So there's nothing about AEW that I hate more than Austin Gunn. I hate him. And, like, I don't think he should be in the. I think it should be Fabu. Fabu should be in this, not Austin Gunn.
Okay. All right.
Well, Austin Gunn, Fabu doesn't have the right dad, I guess.
That's true.
I guess not. But
do you guys have one off the wall outsider, not, one just off the wall, like someone who's not signed to the company, like prediction that it could possibly be?
I actually have 2. Well, one's not off the wall, Jeff Cobb making a run in, but
Jeff, okay, that's a good one.
The other one would be Nick Aldis. I think that would be so cool if he just came in.
Nick, honestly, that was kind of what I was leaning towards too, with them working with NWA. Nick Aldis showing up would be fucking crazy.
This feels like that time when Jim Crockett swallowed up Mid-South.
A little bit.
Yeah, I would love if it was Nick Aldis. I would love that. I'm going to give you guys one off the wall outsider little rumor I heard. I don't know if it's true, but we'll see. Mil Muertes.
Ooh.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Get some more Lucha Underground.
He didn't sign with the WWE, or did he?
He's not signed with anybody.
Okay, that'd be dope. That'd be dope.
It's super. I think the 2 you threw out are much more likely, but we'll see.
Yeah. Then we have Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara in that Broken Rules match, which will be a last man standing match. If Matt Hardy loses, he will leave AEW. With that stipulation thrown out, and honestly, like, considering how much Matt has, like, swayed away a little bit from the broken Matt Hardy character and how he kind of just decided to go, like, back to his normal persona, I think Matt Hardy might be like moving away from AEW, and I think this might actually be his last match. So I would guess Sammy Guevara, just from what I've been seeing, at least on TV. I think they might be just getting ready for Matt Hardy to be done. So, your guys' thoughts on this match, though?
I mean, that's not impossible, of course, at all. we don't know. We never know the ins and outs of a person's situation. But to me, it's like he came in with all that fanfare. They had plans for him. Seems like this was a long-term deal. My gut is that Matt's not leaving. And in the event, now, if Matt is leaving, maybe this is a good way to send him off. Then I would probably say that his run, aside from like one big appearance and a couple good matches, was pretty much lackluster. That would be my opinion if he is leaving. But if he is staying, I'm not a fan of this. Now, I have no problem with this being a last man standing match. I don't know why they got to call it a quote unquote broken rules match, but whatever. But Matt shouldn't be beating Sammy Guevara at this point, and also Matt shouldn't be getting retired at this point. So it's like, I kind of feel like they got booked into a no-win situation unless they're for sure like getting rid of Matt Hardy and he's leaving. I don't see the point of this. Like, this feud doesn't have enough build and heat to require Matt to have to overcome the odds to save his career. Yeah. So it's really strange to me. I think this is a misstep, honestly. In fact, I feel like it would have been fine. Here's my controversial take. Let's say Matt is retiring. Don't announce it ahead of time. Have a regular last man standing match. Sammy beats your ass so bad you never come back.
Just to build Sammy even more.
No stip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not even a last man standing match. He kicks the shit out of him.
It could be a last man standing match. It doesn't matter, but it doesn't have to be a loser leaves. If I lose, I lose my career. Like, no, because to me, when he says if I lose my career, that's telling me up front he's not losing. That tells me it's like a for sure he's staying. And okay. Why the fuck is Matt Hardy beating Sammy Guevara in 2020 on pay-per-view? That's stupid. So this is one of the big missteps of the pay-per-view. I'm actually I'm pretty opposed to this. And I want to see these two guys wrestle for sure, but I don't like the stip.
Now, Floyd, your thoughts?
Oh. Okay. Which one am I on?
You're on.
Yep, you're on.
All right. It's the match I'm least looking forward to on the show. Yeah, it just does nothing for me. So, I mean, I'm trying.
That's all you gotta say.
I'm trying to think of it. And it's like I don't like if Sammy wins. Well, if Matt retires, I don't care. I really don't care about either one of these people. I mean, the broken thing is fun for me, and it's just like they say that we're going away from it. Now you're leaning back into it. I don't know which one it is.
Right.
Yeah, so it's
very
like
inconsistent.
Yeah, it's very inconsistent.
He's like, we listen to the fans, so we're not going to do it anymore. But then they're still kind of doing it. It's like when someone messed up in a relationship and they know they messed up and they tell you they're going to change, but they don't actually change anything. It's kind of like that.
I mean, like it's. I definitely agree with you guys. How probably the match that I'm looking forward to the least out of it, besides maybe Dark Order versus Cardona Sky and the Natural Nightmares. But it's just it's a weird situation because I don't unless Matt's really leaving, I don't see the purpose of having the loser leaves. Or if Matt loses, he leaves and his career's over, because it just doesn't really add as much to the match as I think, even if unless he's actually leaving, which is why my mindset went to, well, like this might be it for him, because I guess just things aren't really going the way that we would have liked for Matt Hardy, and I think maybe he's just done. So, but yeah, I guess we'll just see what happens out of this matchup. But yeah, like just the build hasn't been the best, and just the overall just structure and like booking of the match is just really weird, and I don't like it that much.
If hypothetically AEW was going to send Matt Hardy into a hypothetical retirement, I think they would treat it like a really, really, really big deal.
I would think so too. I would think so too. Like it wouldn't be like just like, oh, they announce it a week before the show.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem right.
It.
Yeah, that's the only thing. Like it doesn't seem right. So I would assume that Hardy will go over, which again, it just doesn't really do much for Sammy, especially considering that like Sammy's now slowly been like moving away from the inner circle a little bit, and none of his buddies seem to be helping him out. It's just kind of like a really off situation and just doesn't have a lot of the muster as the other matches on the card.
Maybe that's the misdirection, is that you think that they're moving away and then they're going to reinforce their relationship by incorporating some sort of tomfoolery from the inner circle.
Maybe, yeah, it's very possible. But up next, Jericho versus Orange Cassidy in their third matchup, the Mimosa Mayhem match. And honestly, I see Orange Cassidy getting the victory in this one just because it's the rubber match. I think they really want to push Orange Cassidy. No, I'm going to go Jericho. I'm going to go Jericho just because I think Orange Cassidy got his win over Jericho. He proved his point by beating Chris Jericho, and I think they really want to build Chris Jericho back up to when he eventually challenges for the AEW World Title again, because they want to keep him as big of a star as possible.
They've talked about having a vat or a tank of mimosa, but the way I would love this match to take place is that there's the ring. You've got the ramp, which is, one of those ramps like they had the last pay-per-view that literally is level with the ring. And then the entire outside parameter around the ring is a giant tank of mimosa, literally encapsulating the entire ring.
So kind of like it's an Inferno match, but with all of this shit, like the mimosa.
Exactly.
Stuff. All right.
Exactly. But instead, it's going to be a dunk tank.
Oh yeah, it's going to be one little kiddie pool or something.
It's going to be one little tank.
Man, I think it's going to be epic.
I think it's going to be quite entertaining, honestly. It's Jericho and Orange Cassidy has won me over, honestly.
Jericho gave out some figures. He said something like 80,000 gallons or something like that. So we'll see. But at this point, I've really enjoyed the Orange Cassidy Jericho feud. Orange Cassidy beat Jericho clean. Jericho beat him clean. They're 1-1. It really doesn't matter. I'm assuming at this point that I think Orange Cassidy is gonna win because someone has to go in that tank, and it makes all the sense in the world for it to be Jericho.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. I've been back and forth with this one a bit.
And with Jericho going into the tank, it's a protected loss. So it's he beat him twice, but he never beat him with a finisher. It was a roll up the first time. The second time, it's going to be a tank. He's still going to be pretty protected, and that kind of ensures the bookings to where it's if Jericho was winning, then the natural progression for him is why isn't he challenging for the title again? What's next? But if he loses, he's so great, he can easily get his heat back, and it elevates Orange Cassidy. I don't want to say it's 50-50 booking, but it brings them to a more level playing field in the terms of the singles division of AEW. So I think Orange Cassidy is going to win. They could always have Jericho win. They could always have Jericho go over clean. He puts him in the walls, taps him out, and then there's some post-match shenanigans, and Jericho still takes the dunk at the end of it all. Jericho's the one who's going in the vat no matter what happens. But I'm going to go Orange Cassidy just because I think it's such a protected loss. No one's going to hold it against Jericho if he gets dumped in some mimosa.
Sure, yeah. Oh, you there, Floyd?
Yep. I think it's Jericho all the way. I think this is going to catapult him back in the title picture. I think he's going to win with some kind of shenanigans win, so it still elevates Orange Cassidy. He couldn't beat him as clean or on that level that he needed to beat him, so it still makes Orange Cassidy look good, and it just makes Jericho kind of look desperate, but he still wins, and then that's how he gets back in the title picture.
All right. Then the AEW Women's Championship match between Hikaru Shida and the NWA Women's Champion Thunder Rosa. And if they're going to go down the route and sign Thunder Rosa, do you think she becomes double champion in this one? Because I think Shida wins, but do you see the possibility of Thunder Rosa becoming the double champion if she's going to be signing with AEW?
I think there's a possibility Thunder Rosa does win. One of you, I'm not sure if it was Floyd or Austin last week, said that it would be, it's like one of those things where it's like no one's expecting Thunder Rosa to win, so you can really shake things up by having her win. And I thought that was a great point, and I kind of see the sense there. But, this is a company where title reigns are supposed to really matter. And if you think about it, they've kind of hot-shotted the women's championship just a little bit. Like, has Karshida even had a successful title defense since she won the belt from Nyla Rose?
Yeah, Penelope Ford.
Okay, yeah, so she had the one. That doesn't seem like when you compare it to, say, like Mox's reign or like Kenny and Hangman's, it's not really comparable. I think they're playing with fire if they decide to, kind of treat the women's title that way. Make other people don't see it that way. Maybe they I think it's like a short-term gain. I think you can easily sign Thunder Rosa and still have her lose and still book her to look really strong. I think they need to stick with Shida. Like, she hasn't really like proven or given everything she can as a champion just yet.
Yeah, that would make sense. The reason I've picked Thunder Rosa is simple. Is they need something for Dynamite. So you have Thunder Rosa upset Shida. You build up Shida's, disappointed. You build up Shida to getting it back, and you put it on one of these Dynamites in the lead up to maybe the next pay-per-view, and Shida wins it back on Dynamite on national TV. You get a big women's match on the show.
So you're saying because they don't have any other viable challengers outside of Nyla Rose, they need to hotshot the title, basically?
Yes, absolutely. I have no problem saying it.
Not at all.
I have no problem saying it. I mean, week to week, Britt Baker's been the most entertaining thing about the women's division, and she's overshadowed the title in a lot of different ways. You want to put the focus back on the women's title, and the way you put the focus back on it is to do something no one's expecting. The outsider wins the belt. She becomes the double champion, and Thunder Rosa's like, hey, I took your belt, and she shows up to different companies holding the AEW belt, and you build it on that story, and you build to a big rematch where she's just trying to get the belt back.
Yeah, I think either or could work out really well, and honestly, it's just this really needs to showcase the AEW Women's Championship in a better light, because I think besides when it was held by Nyla and when it was held by Riho, that title hasn't gotten the chance to shine. As much as I love Shida, I think it needs a bigger moment to really strike and have the title get used very properly. But after this is the AEW Tag Team Championship match between Kenny Omega and Hangman versus FTR. And with everything that's going on in the Elite, with everything that's going on with Hangman and Kenny Omega, I see FTR very quickly in their first shot at the title, very quickly winning the AEW Tag Team Championships, and they will hold them with like an iron grip and not let them go for a good while, because this was one of their biggest signings, and I think they're very much going to have FTR rule the tag team division for a very long time. But real quick, your thoughts, and again, very much could steal the entire show.
Yeah, I think that they've told a really good story. They've built it for a very long time. We kind of touched on some of those more nuanced points earlier in our Dynamite review. And when it comes down to it, I mean, you look at FTR, they've already beaten the majority of the top tag teams in AEW at this point. And even just last week, they won the gauntlet. So they're more than deserving of the title shots. This match is going to be most likely, just if I was a betting man, I'd probably bet that this is going to be the match of the night. Probably a match of the year contender, and that's really saying something in a company that already has a tag team match that already is a match of the year contender. They're probably going to have two of those this year. Maybe this match doesn't live quite up to those expectations, but I mean, either way, it's going to be a phenomenal match, just given the work and the workers that are there and the story that they've told along the way. I am expecting FTR to win, just because I don't know how much more story there really is for you if you decide to keep Kenny and Hangman together. It seemed like they were going to drop these titles a while ago. And so it's kind of a marvel that they've even held on to them quite as long as they have, just given the fact that they are sort of like a, thrown together tag team, if that makes sense. So it makes a lot of sense. There's more you can do for business reasons if you have FTR win, because it gives compelling stories to both Hangman and Kenny. It also elevates FTR, which is something that everyone's kind of waiting on. And it just makes the most sense. So I think this match is going to be great. And I think we're definitely seeing FTR win the titles. I'd be very shocked if they went an opposite way. I actually can't think of a good reason why they should not have them win here.
Well, I agree with that. I'm just going to add one more level onto this, is that FTR have put a target on their back and a ton of pressure on themselves. If they don't go out there and have a classic tear down the house match, everything they talked about being the best tag team in the world, everything they talked about being underutilized in the WWE, all that, kind of falls on itself and becomes just talk. It's time to step up and perform, win or lose. This has to be the home run. This is, they always talk about the art of tag team wrestling. Here's your chance. You're in the ring with two of the best wrestlers in the world. What are you going to do with that? So I'm looking forward to that match for that reason. And, we will crown new tag team champions. Fear the revelation.
There you go.
One quick question, Floyd. If this match really underperforms, and we've kind of seen how many great matches Kenny and Hangman have had with so many different performers this year, are you willing to concede the point that maybe these boys are a little cooked and, are you willing to concede that?
So, in the hypothetical unicorn world where this match doesn't reach up and grab the expectations and make Dave Meltzer orgasm in his recliner at his house, yes, if there is a unicorn world where that happens, I would admit that.
Okay, well, at least we know that that's the option. There's an option. But finally, the main event, MJF versus Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. And I know MJF has been on a tear, but I see Moxley retaining the belt on this one. I don't see any other outcome, honestly, unless if they continue to have Cody come back and win the Casino Battle Royale, which I don't think will happen. The only way I could see MJF winning that title is if Cody won the Battle Royal and then MJF won the AEW World Championship under shenanigans or whatever reasoning. But I see Jon Moxley continuing to win without the paradigm shift and continuing to hold that title for a little bit longer. But your guys' thoughts on this main event?
I've been predicting since the initial MJF, we deserve better promo that he was winning this title. Maybe even before that, maybe even since it sort of kind of became clear that this was the direction they're going. I'm feeling a lot less confident about that given the way they closed this.
Yeah.
This most recent Dynamite. It doesn't feel like a build to a coronation of a new champion necessarily. But I'm going to stick to my original predictions and say MJF is winning this title. And again, I don't feel as confident as I did before, but there's a lot of reasons why. It's like, MJF has been on this quote unquote undefeated streak the entire time he's been in the company. He's been hot shotted in almost every scenario, as far as like the way they've kind of protected him and projected him within the booking and everything of that nature. And I don't really know where he goes next if you don't capitalize on everything. It's like they could definitely give his first loss to a guy like Moxley. That sort of makes sense, but I don't know how much business you can build off that. But if they're able to say, like, he's the youngest champion in the history of AEW, we had this, like, young 22-year-old Dynamo, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They need, if they're going to, like, do that with him, they need to capitalize on it now. And he's one thing people really have said many times, like, oh, he hasn't proven himself enough in the ring. But, like, he had that match with Jungle Boy. He had the match with Cody that people derided, which actually was really fantastic and great. He's shown that he can do a lot of different things, and I've seen him on the indies just have blowaway matches of all different kinds of styles that people really haven't really seen in the mainstream just yet. He can go blow for blow on the mic with just about anybody. I don't see any reason why you don't put the belt on this guy. Unless you think Moxley is moving the meter like that, and maybe he is to a certain extent, but like my feeling is the big stars in the company right now for the fan base are still the elite. And so whoever's holding the title is almost like someone that they're investing into and someone that they're helping grow. And like Mox has already grown to a certain level. He's already had a fantastic title run. I don't know how much longer you could go with it. I think we'll know more once we see who wins that Casino Battle Royal and things of that nature. On that night, we'll know more. But, I think MJF is the next guy.
All right, and Floyd, your thoughts?
I think Moxley wins. I think the next program is we're going back to Moxley and Jericho. That's what I think we do. Mox has beaten undefeated Jake Hager. He beat undefeated Brody Lee, and now he's going to beat undefeated MJF, and that sets his reign as one of the better reigns in AEW. So when they eventually build to what I think they're building to is Kenny Omega and Moxley. I mean, that's what we'll have set up, So I think it's going to be a long run for Moxley. I think this one has some more legs.
One quick question. So if you think they're going to Jericho next, when you say Jericho next, you probably mean for the next pay-per-view, I'm assuming, right?
Correct.
So you think whoever's winning this Casino Battle Royale is more of like a Dynamite feud to hold in the interim until the next pay-per-view?
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. That's a possibility. It makes sense.
Yeah, right. I just was like, if it's not Cody, I think it's Cage. I think they go back to Cage with Mox, but we'll see.
All right. Well, that's our preview and our predictions for All Out, and that'll do it for this episode of All Things Elite. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. I want to thank the young boy Josh Smith from the ASA podcast, Keepin It Strong Style, for joining us once again. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
Absolutely. I had a really great time discussing something that I enjoy, but I don't get a lot of chances to talk to other people about just because I spend so much time talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling. And anyone that's listening, if you've never checked out my podcast, we provide some of the best content when it comes to, weekly New Japan, discussion and hot takes and, breakdowns and everything of that nature. We've been going for almost 3 years now. So, please give us a listen. Just check us out. Give us a chance. If you're unfamiliar with New Japan, we're a great resource for, kind of growing your education, that sort of instance.
Yeah, so definitely check out Keepin It Strong Style. Their Twitter is KI Strong Style on Twitter. And also, real quick, Josh, shout out to you wearing the Tampa Bay Lightning shirt for destroying those arrogant Boston Bruiners in the conference playoffs. And
you're actually blowing up my spot here because I'm not a Lightning fan.
Then why are you wearing the shirt?
It's just a blue shirt that just happens to be laying around. It's laundry day. I'm actually a Red Wings fan, but I happen to live in Tampa.
You know what? All right. I was going to call you out on that, but because you're a Detroit Red Wings fan, I appreciate it. We need people like you right now because we don't have any right now. For a good reason, but I appreciate you. I appreciate you so much. But again, thank you guys so much for listening, and make sure you're downloading our show on Google and Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and a review. Share us around. We would really appreciate it. If you want to follow us on social media, follow the podcast at AT Elite Pod. Follow Social Suplex at Social Suplex, myself at SZoomer4, Floyd Johnson Jr. on Twitter as well. And again, KI Strong Style on Twitter if you want to check out this amazing New Japan podcast. And if you're really trying to get into New Japan, I definitely recommend their show. They do a good job at explaining it to not only the hardcore fans, but also to fans who don't really know much about New Japan at this point in time. But with that being said, we have nothing left but for Floyd, my good friend, to take us home tonight. Floyd, take it away.
Hey, I thank everyone that downloads, listens to our show every week. We appreciate you participating and you being involved in all things elite. But I want to just tell everybody, make sure you're supporting the product, downloading, going to, buying All Out on pay-per-view. If you're out of the country, going with Fight TV. It's just important to support the product. I saw the numbers today, uncontested. Over 900,000 viewers were the average for the 2 hours. Man, that is great. I'm hoping they can break 1 million next week. But yeah, just looking forward to everything we have going forward. We are almost a year on TV. AEW is almost a year on TV. That is crazy to think about. But keep the momentum going. As I always say, remember to stay vigilant. So, with that being said, whether it's home, work, or school, always do your best to be elite.